Everyone, welcome back to the Sofa Kings YouTube channel. I'm joined alongside by my good friend, MMA nerd, Steven Shred. Steven, how you doing, buddy?
Doing pretty good. How are you?
Good, man. Good. Just we're getting this video a little bit late, but the news just doesn't seem to be stopping at all. And you sent me some stuff, I think a day or two ago, and now I think there's even more coming out. So let's just get right into it. The biggest piece coming out is Jiri Prochazka versus Jamahal Hill. We have some stuff with Sterling and Aljamain Sterling and O'Malley, right, with that whole face-off, talking about some potential matchups that we'd like to see, some BJJ careers we didn't know about, some more potential matchups, and talking about Bare Knuckle FC, what happened. But first off, I just want to get right into the recap for the main card, just kind of go over it. Aljamain Sterling beating Henry Cejudo in what would consider, I would argue that it was a very, very close fight. A robbery, no. When it's a close fight and it can go either way, I don't ever call it a robbery. It's just you let it go to the judges' scorecards, and the judges are going to score it the way how they need to score it. I thought that Henry won 2, 3, and 5. However, 2 was like questionable for me. 3 a little more definitive, but 5 he for sure won. I don't know how Derek Clary scored it for Henry Cejudo. Steven, what are your thoughts on the fight?
Yeah, his scorecard was very strange. I believe he had Sterling 145, which
Yeah.
was
4 was the most definitive round for Aljamain, I'd say. Like 1 and 4.
Yeah, I had Cejudo 2, 3, and 5 as well.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't gone back to watch it again, so I can't go back and say for sure that I believe Cejudo won the fight. Like you said, I don't think it was robbery. When it's that close, and it could really be a toss-up depending on who's watching it and what they're looking for, you can't call that a robbery. A lot of people are using that for clickbait right now. I don't think it was robbery. You know,
I also think some people are getting me mistaken, especially on the TikTok space, man. People love to be angry about this. But listen, I'm not saying Henry won the fight. I'm saying I scored it for Henry. Yeah. Obviously, my scoring has no outcome effect. But if I'm being real, I didn't. I at the end I saw how many takedown attempts that Aljamain had. I didn't count 15, and I was watching with other wrestlers. And so we were sitting there, we're like, both of them didn't really do anything with the takedowns. However, Aljamain did get the takedown against Henry while Henry was doing the splits. I thought that was kind of cool. I didn't know what Henry was going to do with the split. I was like, okay, so he's showing off a little athleticism, and then he let it get a little ridiculous. I was like, he's not going to have any balance. Like where can he go? Like, where can he transfer his weight to? And Aljamain was just all over that. And it's showing that he's doing a lot of work with Merab. You know what I mean? Like that's, it was hard to take him down, and he was awkward in that fight. He was super awkward. You can tell Henry didn't have the same shots that he wanted. He didn't have the entrances, none of that. But yeah, not a robbery in any form or fashion.
Yeah. That was my big part. Like that was my big point with how they're scoring it, because my scores for Cejudo were based on his takedowns, pressure, and in some rounds, control. But a lot of the takedowns that I was giving to him didn't result in anything. That resulted in 10 seconds of control time, and then they're back up on their feet.
Yeah.
So I constantly was saying I give that to Cejudo, but if they're basing it off of how effective it was, it could just be a non-factor.
And I don't know. I don't think I'm too far off, because people were like, "Oh, you're the only person that gives it to Henry Cejudo." Michael Bell gave it to Henry Cejudo. Michael Bell's the first judge on the scorecard. So again, listen, I think Henry needs to stay at 140 or 135. He shouldn't go anywhere. He shouldn't need to prove that he's this big, strong guy that can go up to 145. He has things he can prove at 135, especially with the Merab fight. Look, we'll get into all that, but
Yep.
moving on to, I guess, not the biggest surprise of the night, Bilal Muhammad getting the decision against Gilbert Burns. And for Bilal Muhammad fans, this was a great fight. And for Bilal Muhammad haters, this was also a fight that somewhat proved their same things. I don't know. I thought he was pretty definitive in a lot of his shots. He was picking it well, coming off Ramadan, which honestly I think they just changed his training schedule. I don't think he is that messed up from it, but I'm sure it poses some problems, right? You got to train at a different time when your body's not ready. But then he sent out the message, and I want to get your take on this. He sent out the message. He goes, "Yeah, I'll fight 5 rounds." Right? How is that not sending chilling messages to the rest of the welterweight division? Steven, I want to know your opinion on that.
Dude, it's one of those things where it's like he's supposedly coming in at a disadvantage. He throws it out there. He's like, "All right, 5 rounds. Let's do this." With one of the most dangerous guys in the division, it definitely put a stamp on anything that he could have been carrying as far as his title contention and being the top contender. But I will say it definitely seemed like, they talk about later in the fight that something was going on with one of Burns's, was it his shoulder or his arm?
Yes.
Something was messed up.
Yeah.
Even from the first round, it felt like something was off. It felt like he was not as aggressive, and it felt like he was just very hesitant for some reason. So I don't know if that just carried over from an injury he already had and it just made it worse or what.
So going back and looking at the fight, there was a shot attempt. He goes in for the shot, and Bilal was stuffing it, and I think Gilbert landed on it, kind of funny or weird, but you can tell it wasn't the first round, because after that, you can see the sharp decline off. He couldn't throw the jab out, so all he had was the overhand right, and all Bilal needed to do was just kind of step back and just make sure he can see that shoulder coming over the top. And one thing I did see too was that Bilal potentially had an injury in coming into the fight. His ankle looked a little weird.
Yeah.
So I haven't seen anything on that yet. I would love to know if
I
you
believe he confirmed it.
Wow. Yeah. That's
I believe he confirmed it just a day or two ago.
Wow. Let me see. Yeah. I'm looking at the news for here. Bilal Muhammad suspected a rat in his camp after news of his ankle injury leaked before UFC 288. That's MMAnews.com. MMA Fighting says morning report. Colby Covington. Oh, that's a totally different thing. Jesus, Colby Covington still makes news, I guess.
Maybe I'm wrong. Yeah. I remember him saying something about going into the fight with an ankle injury, but maybe it was the rat thing because that kind of confirms it in its own way.
Yeah.
Because how would there be information to give if it wasn't there?
Well, he's going to be looking at his camp a little bit tighter now. And unfortunately, I think that's part of the game. We saw that same thing happen with Gervonta Davis and Ryan Garcia. And we still don't know the whole story between that. We have a suspected person, right? Or the person that everyone's assuming. Maybe not. Moving on, we had probably one of the biggest surprises of the night. Yan Xiaonan getting the knockout win over Jessica Andrade. Andrade throwing 4 straight left hooks and getting absolutely piped down by a by a straight 2. Fun fight. We'll keep it short on this one, but go ahead and get your thoughts on this.
It was the biggest surprise of the night for me because I can never Yan, yeah, what you said. She only has decision wins in the UFC.
Mm-hmm.
She literally does not have a single finish in the UFC. Going against Jessica Andrade,
Hmm.
Somebody who has a head slam win to get the freaking to get the championship.
Yeah.
I didn't expect it, and when it happened, I was just blown away. I was just like, "There's no way this is happening." Somebody just won a ton of money.
The last time she won um, was at Zingan Wine Cup, and I seems like an Asian market kind of,
Cricket. Yeah.
but it was an armbar. Before that, she
It
did
wasn't even
have
knocked out.
no. From that, I think she had a TKO win with punches. Road FC in China. So not known for her finishes, but the thing about professional fighting is that they do it a lot. Some fighters are able to make others look like they don't belong in there, but make no mistake, they still spent a lot of time. When you throw the same 4 combinations
Yeah.
while charging in, and the person can just kind of step back and step back and step back against the cage, circle out, step back, bop, done. Like I don't know if Jessica Andrade just didn't respect any of the power. I mean, that's what it looked like. She didn't respect any of the power.
I feel like she never respects anyone's power.
And
And that might be why she's not seeing as much success as she thought she would in the most recent fights.
yeah, no, she's what 24-11. So she has, I don't know how many more fights she's gonna have in her. She's only 31,
Yeah.
but that's a lot of road time. That's a lot of damage. 5 KO losses, 3 submission losses, 3 decision losses. So
Yeah.
she's everywhere.
And bouncing from division to division doesn't help.
Which divisions was she bouncing from?
I believe so.
Because this was at strawweight.
I could be wrong. So I want to say she had a fight or two at even 135 or something.
Mm-hmm.
125 she tried and went back to strawweight.
Okay.
But the switching division, switching opponents, switching ranking pools, I don't think it helped her.
Mm-hmm.
And then going back to where, I mean, specifically her height and her reach would be a little closer and still not being successful. I don't think it helps her case and how many fights she has left and a possible title run.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens with her. But
Yeah.
then now it's going to be a Chinese fighter versus Chinese fighter now, right? They're setting up the
Yan Jianan and Wei Li.
Yep.
Yeah, that would be a great fight. They want a UFC China card. I think that'd be pretty fun. We'll see a lot of Eastern European fighters over there as well. Maybe some Egyptian fighters that just some from regions we might not expect. But moving on, Movsar Evelev versus Diego Lopez. Diego Lopez, this was his first fight in the UFC. Came in and said, "I don't care who you are," and was throwing some good shots, man. It was hanging in there. He didn't lose any stock. He's gonna get. I think Dana's gonna throw him a fight he can win next time. Right? Diego Lopez is a stud in his own right. He was in his own. He was dancing around a couple other circuits here. Pulling it up here on the web. Lux Fight League Combat Jiu-Jitsu Worlds. Right? So Combat Jiu-Jitsu, for those who don't know, is essentially it's wrestling, and then once it goes to the ground, it's jiu-jitsu with open palm strikes. It's kind of crazy. There's still knockouts in there. You know what I mean? There's still TKO wins. But he's definitely competing in that combat jiu-jitsu sense, and you'd be surprised at how much it mimics MMA. So he's comfortable. He's a veteran. Let's see, XFL League. Roca Fighting League. So he's been around, but I think just kind of dancing around in smaller circuits. I would love to see him against other fighters in his division, which would be what 45s. I mean, who at 45s gives him a good fight? That's not ranked.
That's not ranked and doesn't already have a fight.
Kron Gracie.
I mean, yeah, I guess.
Let's get into it.
Yeah,
because Kron did terrible.
He did really, really bad.
I love it's what everyone knows, right? It's that MMA has evolved so much. Like I don't know. I don't know if you thought this was 1992 or not. I get that the
Yeah.
Gracie name is big, but just you have 3 years, almost 4 years, dog. You got to improve the striking.
Yeah, it's insane. It takes me back to when he was active back in 2018, 2019.
Mm-hmm.
The big talk was, Brian Ortega is the man when it comes to jiu-jitsu in featherweight.
Mm-hmm.
How does he stack up with Crone Gracie? Because he's Gracie. And I'm like, looking at that and thinking of Brian Ortega, dude, Brian Ortega would have destroyed him.
Brian Ortega's big too. I think he'd be a
Yeah.
lot bigger than Kron. I
Yeah,
don't.
so it was very strange to see that long of a layoff and see him still even more like one-dimensional. Is crazy.
It was the guard pulling. It was like the jumping guard pull, where like the first time it happened, I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. I guess like it's interesting. And he
Yeah.
kept doing it,
Well,
kept doing
I
it.
went, oh,
Yeah,
like,
I was like,
that was
okay,
cool.
that was interesting. Like it was cool because I hadn't. It seemed so smooth the first time. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like Charles Jourdain he wasn't really looking for like the neck, for like the elbow against the neck, and then to like drop. So I was like, okay, whatever. But here's the thing: Charles Jourdain is also a jiu-jitsu black belt. I'm not saying that black belts, like there aren't like disparities of differences sometimes between black belts. But what I'm saying is a guy who understands jiu-jitsu at that level still, he's not going to fall for certain traps,
Yeah.
and you get a guy who's been in there a little bit longer, a guy who has the striking. Yeah, it just kind of, and I know the UFC isn't paying like cheap dollars for Kron Gracie. The Gracie name comes with money, right?
Yep.
So how many more fights do you think the UFC is willing to give him? One more? Because that,
Maybe one or two, because even Dana was pissed about that.
yeah, it wasn't a fun one. Moving on real quick, we'll just talk about a couple quick ones here. Drew Dober's chin finally going lights
Oof.
out with Matt
Yeah,
Frevola.
did not see that coming.
No, I didn't see that coming either.
But he was getting absolutely rocked with some of those before he got put down. But
yes, he
I was
was.
just like I was just in that mindset. I was like, God damn, this guy could take a hit. And then he couldn't. I was like, damn.
Yeah,
That was one hell of an exchange.
yeah, I agree. That one was wild. Let's see. Moving on to the early prelims. I just wanted to talk about one fight. Ikram Aliaskarov gets the knockout over Phil Haas in the first round at 2 minutes 10 seconds in, with a beautiful 1-2. Probably my favorite knockout of the entire night. I know you said you weren't able to watch this one. I think this is one that people should go back and watch because it was just smooth. And the middleweights should be on notice. Now, I got corrected on this. So I said that he was from Khabib's camp. I don't think he's from Khabib's camp. So I think there's two separate camps in Dagestan. Even though they still kind of funnel into American Top Team every now and then. Or no, I'm sorry. Because DC and them, they're AKA, huh? That's right.
AKA.
Yeah. So he's from American Top Team, but he funnels through there. From the other camp of Dagestan. Just wanted to make that one known.
I got confused too when as soon as I heard the word American, I'm like, yeah, you're right. But then you're like, wait, correction. I was like, oh, wait, yeah.
So it's yeah, it's I mean, it's tough remembering where a lot of these fighters come from. But that being said, this was a great knockout. I would love to see where they put him next because he's not going to be like a low ranked guy at all for much longer.
I unfortunately did not get to watch it. I will go back and watch it because I've heard so much. I've heard so much about like a couple of the early prelim fights, which, you got you got stuff to finish in the day. You got to get all of it out before it's UFC time because then we're locked in for the next 6 to 8 hours. So
well, the entire early prelims, they all ended by knockout. Claudio Ribeiro, or Ribeiro got the knockout in the second round, and Parker Porter got the knockout in the first round over Braxton Smith. So these prelims, man, they'll show up. They'll show up. Getting into the news going around the UFC, Jiri and Jamahal Hill. So Jiri Prochazka looks like he's going to be taking on Jamahal Hill for the 205 strap for the belt for it all. And I spent all morning watching tape on the guys. Mainly, there was a really cool. There was like a really cool 20-minute like overview of Jiri Prochazka's rise from.
I watched that too.
That one, I was like, this is kind of cool. Like, it was a really good breakdown. So I will try my best to link it somewhere because that's a really fun one to watch.
Yeah.
And then watching Jamahal Hill's footage that was released from like UFC and a couple other editors and stuff like that. We have a striking dream, or striker's wet dream right here. It seems like they're both willing to stand in the pocket and exchange. It seems like Jamahal Hill can create a little bit more power from the outside. I think both these guys are used to being slightly bigger, and they're going to be around the same size. I think Jamahal Hill might have a little bit of size on Jiri, and that's going to surprise some people. But just from looking at the footage, that's kind of what I've seen. I hope Jiri coming off of this long layoff isn't going to affect him, but Jamahal Hill is going to be ready. They both have submission wins too. They both have knockout wins, obviously, given their Muay Thai careers. So big match. What are you thinking about this one?
I really like it. I think the thing that is going to set the difference between their strikings, though, is Jiri's creativity, which gets him knockouts in situations where if we look at the Dominic Reyes fight, for instance, they're just striking back and forth hands. I don't think the knockout happens. But because of that weird elbow and then switch elbow, spinning, he gets a knockout. So I think Jiri's creativity is going to be a big factor in this, but it is going to be just striker's dream because these dudes are fine with taking hits and they're ready to just dish them back. It's not going to be it's not going to be the super cautious striker match. It is going to be, I'll take yours, but you're going to take mine.
Yes.
And mine is going to be worse than yours.
Yeah, these guys are going to bite down their mouthpieces pretty fucking hard. They both have some solid shots. Jiri Prochazka has a really clean ass left hook. I don't see too many like shovel body shots from either of the guys. Maybe I need to see some more footage. But
there's a little bit in the Glover fight with Jiri. Jiri started mixing it up a lot towards the later rounds, but at that point, I feel like Jiri was a little he was seeing that a lot of the headhunting just wasn't going, so then he went to the body a little bit.
And I like that. That's scary when you can adapt like that on the fly. Realize be like, hey, this isn't working. Let me go ahead, switch it up, change levels. The wrestling might be a bit of a factor here, though. I think for Jiri, I've seen some issues with that. Right, Jamahal Hill having to go up against Glover Teixeira and having to deal with that pressure. Listen, Glover Teixeira, even at his age, 40, 41, something like that, still getting after in wrestling that late into his career. And Jamahal Hill having to deal with a serious threat. It wasn't like it was a normal 40-year-old where he's got this pot belly. No, Jamahal Hill would have been all over him. Yeah. This is Glover Teixeira, one of the greatest to ever do it at 205. So these guys have a dogfight planned, and they know that. So that's scheduled for UFC 292 in Boston. That's not even on Google yet because they're not even looking past, in terms of pay-per-views, they're not looking past 290 right now, which is Yair and Moreno.
Yeah, which if it comes down to wrestling and we match up how successful like takedowns and everything were, like Jamal was not getting taken down. Jiri was getting taken down almost every time. So that is 100% going to play a factor if they go that game.
Yeah. I mean, um,
Which Jamal Hill's finish of Thiago Santos, that fight was super competitive
now
until he took him to the ground.
now check this out though.
Mhm.
And you're gonna remember this from the video. So if Jamal Hill goes for the takedown, right? Let's say he goes for the takedown.
Mhm.
What happens when Jiri Prochazka, and I'm gonna see if you know this. What happens when Jiri Prochazka puts all of his weight on both thighs? What's coming right after that?
Explodes.
With what? With what technique specifically?
Uh,
The fucking knee, dude.
oh, okay.
Dude, look at his footage. He does it. He'll like, and then he's up, and that knee is just there. He's gotten a couple of wins with that knee. So Jamal Hill needs to be careful. I think maybe body locks. I'm hoping he's not gonna
Yeah.
go for like anything like a low ankle pick. Maybe he tries to do like a fake three, right? Goes up, tries to grab like the neck and push over.
Yeah, I thought I thought you were referencing the Glover fight because yeah, like Glover was on top. He starts loading up his legs, starts moving them, and then bam, explodes, and then he's on top.
No,
So
I'm talking in terms of Yuri's ability to throw the knee, the flying knee.
yeah, Yuri's got insane creativity, and it's like Yuri's thinking of all what's the word, orifices, like hands, feet, knees, elbows at all times. So
Yes.
that's like the big thing that I've seen people like in his fights have issues with because they don't know exactly what he's going to be coming at them with. So
Yeah.
that'll be really fun to see how Jamal deals with that because Jamal, I don't think has really dealt with somebody of that level of creativity.
Mhm.
So it'll be interesting, but for sure we're gonna get a banger of a fight, no doubt.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Speaking of bangers of a fight, so set up from the last event with a face off in the cage, whether you appreciated it or not. It looks like they're setting up Aljamain Sterling and Sean O'Malley for the 135 belt. And listen, what I saw from Aljamain Sterling against Henry Cejudo, I don't think Sean O'Malley has. I don't know. I don't think he has it. You know what I mean? I'm calling the shot now. I'm calling it early. Aljamain Sterling is very good. Very good. He's very awkward. Sean O'Malley is somewhat awkward and he's quick. I think Aljamain Sterling can deal with quick.
Yeah, I think I think Sterling, though, if we're talking his approach to a striker, I went back and I looked at his fights with Piotr. If he knows he's at a power disadvantage at any point and he wants to close that, he goes straight to his wrestling.
Yep.
Dude has amazing wrestling. Dude has great control. He's not gonna dance with the idea of like, oh well, I'll strike with him for a little bit. We'll do this just because we don't like each other. Like he's not gonna do that. The quickness, the power that Sean O'Malley has, and he's awkward to fight. Sure, like he throws some things and he's got creativity, but it's creativity and striking.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to translate the same when you have somebody who's so dominant and so good at what they do. If Sterling wants to get it to the ground, it's getting to the ground. And people talk about, you know, oh, well, it's almost they talk about like secret technique, like, oh, it's too deadly. If he uses it, somebody will die. They talk about Sean O'Malley's jujitsu that's supposedly like amazing, but we never see it.
Well, we've seen it once. And I'm trying to think of where it is. Yeah, and it was in the ICF, so the Intense Championship Fighting League. It was a rear naked choke. But I
Yeah.
think it's something that Sean O'Malley hasn't really had to deal with as much, because he's really good at distance management. So
Yeah.
Aljamain Sterling is going to have to find a way to get inside. He's going to have to deal with the length issue. Sean O'Malley's 5'11". I don't know how tall Aljamain Sterling is. Let's see here.
Yeah.
He is 5'7", right? With the reach
Yeah.
71 inches versus a reach of, I guess they don't have that on this site. Thank you. How about Google? 72. So the reach is going to be close. but maybe we see a difference in the length, in the front kicks.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it's not something he hasn't had to deal with before. I mean, Corey Sandhagen, same height,
Yeah. Yeah,
and he
absolutely.
beat Sandhagen. So it's not something that is going to be completely like, out of his realm. He's
Mhm.
dealt with it before. He's dealt with strikers many, many times. And I think the championship version of Sterling that we have now is much better, much more equipped to deal with, with a fighter of Sean O'Malley's caliber, as opposed to his like previous losses. So I don't see this being the extremely close competitive fight that a lot of people are talking it up to be. I just don't think Sean has the tools, and I think they have given Sean the perfect person in Piotr to give him this opportunity. But I don't think he's I don't think he's that guy.
I mean, he specifically didn't fight Merab for any
Exactly.
number of reasons. He's not fighting. He's not fighting. He's not fighting. Let's see, Umar, right? Um, because okay, so real quick, let's. Dana White said that he's having trouble, and this was after the 288. He was saying he's having trouble getting guys for Umar and Magomedov, and he specifically mentioned 7-6-5-4. Those gentlemen going in descending order: Rob Font, Marlon Vera, Piotr Jan, Corey Sandhagen. Listen, Dana knows every word he's saying is being recorded.
Yeah.
Even if he didn't mean all of those fighters, those are still some names, right? And that's saying something. Now, Sean O'Malley, after beating Piotr Jan, probably isn't looking that. He's like, I'm not gonna fight the fucking 11 guy. Like, let those guys fight each other. That's it's just telling. It's telling of where we're at in the 135 division, where everyone I think is just really good. Maybe Umar gets Song Yadong next. Maybe Song doesn't take that fight. I don't know.
I mean, Song's looking for Sean O'Malley, so Sean
ah,
O'Malley's looking booked up for September, so
yeah,
Song's gonna have to take something.
yeah. I was about to say. I was like, you don't want to be waiting that inactive and on because if you're not in that top
Yeah.
5 spot, especially if you don't have a name like Sean O'Malley, Henry Cejudo, Piotr Jan, right? Even Dominic Cruz, right? If you're not those guys, I don't think you're pulling in the numbers you think you are. He did headline his own fight night, but um, where can you go after that?
Yeah.
So interesting to see what's going to happen. Jumping over to the 155 lightweight division for the UFC, matching both these guys are kind of talking smack with each other, right? You have Paddy the Baddy, Paddy Pimblett versus Matt Frevola. They're kind of going at it. Nothing's been official yet. However, Paddy said, "I'm down. Just let me get healed up."
Yeah.
So let me go ahead and get your opinion on that one.
Um, it does feel like a little bit of a. It feels like he's got a little wiggle room to cop out,
Mm-hmm.
because you know the hype I feel for Patty is dead. Like after that last
Wow.
fight, everybody knows that Jared Gordon got robbed. I don't think there's a single person on the planet, unless they are like, you know, Patty's cousin that's trying to like live off of the hype of being Patty's cousin or something, that thinks Patty won that fight. Uh,
Wow.
like I just don't think the hype is there, and I don't see Patty coming back and wanting to fight somebody who just knocked out an unknockoutable guy. Like, so I would love the fight. I think Frevola throws so hard and just is so consistent with his striking.
mm-hmm.
I don't think like because it's like we saw Patty get tested, and I don't think he passed. So I think Frevola just takes it. But I don't think we get that fight set up because I think Paddy's gonna have the whole "oh well I'm injured" thing, and then when he's all good to go, it's like, oh well, that's not the fight Dana gave me, so it is what it is.
It's so here's my thing.
Mhm.
I don't think Matt Frevola gets it done. I don't think he can. Here's my thing. He was getting pieced up by Drew Dober, right?
Mhm.
Drew Dober was the match to set up with Paddy Pimblett. He was supposed to call him out, right? That was what was expected from the show. It's not what happened at the show. Matt Frevola decides to step up and him because he's hearing all the buzz fight week, right? He's like, oh my god, Drew Dober's looking past me, da da da. That's probably in his head. But now he's like, I just beat this dude. Let me call him out, right? And Paddy bit, right? He's like, okay, yeah, let's do it. I'm injured. It's a weird time to call it out. I'm paraphrasing, of course, but he's like, sure, okay. I think Paddy thinks that Matt Frevola is an easier fight, and he's more willing to take that fight than Drew Dober. Drew Dober does have a chin. It might be questionable after the knockout, but he's still going to sit there and be able to take a shot. I think Matt Frevola just hit him with something that most 155ers won't ever get back up from. You know what I mean? Paddy still has solid striking. I think there's some glaring holes that some of the higher level guys at 155 are going to be able to kind of explore. Let's look at 155, right? He's not getting past the striking of Dustin Poirier. He's not getting past the striking of Justin Gaethje. The athleticism, Michael Chandler, I don't know. Rafael Fiziev, maybe. Rafael Dos Anjos. If he beats Matt Frevola, I like the fight. You know what I mean? And this is gutsy from Matt Frevola. He's the number 14 guy, right? Going against another unranked fighter. Most guys want to get the spot, but I think he understands that this is a high attention fight. If he wins this, I mean, he shoots himself up into a top 10 fight, maybe. Maybe goes up against Jalen Turner, Arman Saryukin, Gamrot. So lots of fun fights. I don't know. I don't see the striking ability in Paddy as much as other people do. I mean, I see that he picks some of his shots really well, but then get him in a firefight. You know what I mean? And he has that Scousers don't get knocked out attitude. Your chin will be tested then. You know what I mean? Because if you're gonna leave your chin that high up in the air, it's gonna get tested by someone who has a really good range, really good check hook. So we'll see. He's relatively young, 28, getting into like what should be his prime. What should be his prime? I think he's wasting it in his off season or his off camps with the food. Like, look,
up to 200 pounds.
Look, man, I go from fat to fit to fat to fit. It sucks, dude. You don't have the same energy at the smaller weight. You just don't. His metabolism is allowing for it now in the same way that my metabolism allows for it right now. He's now probably has a way better metabolism than I do since he's training so damn much. But that being said, when he gets older, he's going to miss weight. He's going to miss weight one day. I hope he proves me wrong. That'd be great for the division, but he's going to miss weight. And his chin is going to get rocked because he's cutting so much weight. You lose a lot of power, and you lose a lot of power in your chin. That's the first thing to go. You know what I mean? So that's what I think of the fight. Moving on, Mark Zuckerberg starting his BJJ career. Who would have thought? He ended up getting a gold and a silver medal. So I don't know who his trainer is. Do you know?
I don't know, but I would expect it would be probably somebody pretty good with the amount of money that dude has.
It's Dave Camarillo. Let's see. Dave Camarillo got his black belt under Ralph Gracie, who's under Carlos Gracie Jr., who's under Helio, who's under Carlos, and who's under Mitsuyo Maeda, sorry. So long lineage of really good fighters. I think Mark Zuckerberg has, given his career, given what he's done, he'll probably have the tenacity to follow through within 10 to 15 years, become a good black belt. You know what I mean? Congratulations to Mark Zuckerberg. Yeah, man, that's awesome. You love to see more high level people do it. I just want to ask you, what do you think this means for the jiu-jitsu community and for jiu-jitsu as a sport?
I think it's really cool. A lot of people are like trying to like for some reason dunk on him about this. I'm just
I don't get that. Like people,
yeah, I'm like, why?
like, dude, getting into a jiu-jitsu competition is so fucking like it's a little nerve-wracking, man. It's a lot of, like if you're not used to people looking at you, like you're gonna
Yeah.
go out there and you're either gonna kick someone's ass, or you're gonna get your ass kicked. It's just what it is,
Not only that, but man, it's an extremely humbling sport.
Yes.
People talk about like Zuckerberg thinking he's like some god, some icon, and all that. Like, dude, you're not gonna think that after doing jujitsu for a few years. Like, you're just gonna be like, nah, dude. I think it's cool that you got guys like him. You got guys like Tom Hardy just showing up doing jujitsu tournaments. Like, it puts it into a light of, oh, like these guys are doing it. I think all around it just puts a big like banner sign like try out jujitsu.
Yeah, it's just I would say just a year and a half of training separates you so much from the average person. It's insane. And I'm not going to out the dude, but recently I had a sparring session here at the house, and it was between myself and two wrestlers. And one of the wrestlers is very good. He's been striking for a very long time, so it's very hard to get stuff on him. We catch each other very often, but he's very good. The other guy that he brought in he never did any striking, hadn't done any jiu-jitsu, was a wrestler his entire life, right? Comes in, and we like just having fun when we're sparring. We're not too crazy. It's more about positioning and all that.
No.
He takes me down, right, as a good wrestler would, and I go into my jiu-jitsu, and immediately, without much, I just throw my leg over the head and just start cranking on the arm. Boom. And he's like, man. I go, yeah, it's just when you know what you're looking for, something seems fucking simple, something seems fucking insanely hard. For Mark Zuckerberg, he understands something that most people just will never understand. So, hats off to you, Zuck. Hopefully, you can fix some of the platforms. All right. Hopefully, I can drop enough weight and compete against him. That'd be fun. But I think he's where is he competing in? Woodside, California. 38, so he's in the Masters division. He'll be in the seniors. So for those that don't know, typically jiu-jitsu competitions are broken up. You obviously have like your teenagers and below, like 16 and up. You have your teenagers kind of competing with the adults, just because they're starting to get some of that ground strength a bit. 30 to like 55, I think, or 60 is the Masters division, just to kind of keep it out from like the really young guys. But still, really cool. Moving along, more possible matches. We have Merab Dvalishvili and Henry Cejudo kind of looming, right? Look, that's a great match.
That definitely is.
Henry would have to really work on his pace, and he knows that. And from what I saw, I think Merab could win through pace and pace alone. Now both of these guys would be absolutely dead tired at the end of the fight. If they're just wrestling for 25 minutes straight, jeez. I want to know your opinion on this. Who you think would win the fight? And is this a wrestling match that ends up with them just striking because they don't want to wrestle anymore? Or is this just going to be wrestling for 25 minutes straight?
As far as who wins that, I feel like because we just saw Cejudo somewhat not come with quite the pace that we've seen him with before. And we just saw Merab have an absolutely relentless pace. I'm gonna lean towards Merab just because that dude like just goes and does not stop until the bell rings. Like it is insane how relentless his pressure is.
Yes, I would agree.
But then again, if anybody's gonna, really test that and really show us if there is a way to combat that pressure, it's not going to be Sterling, obviously, because they're like best buddies.
Hmm.
So it's got to be Cejudo. I think Cejudo has what it takes for sure, especially if he's training for just wrestling with some striking to really give Merab a run for his money.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Henry does have some good striking. I don't think he.
Yeah.
I don't think this match is decided in the striking unless they really can't out wrestle each other and they're just negating each other in as much of cage wrestling and they end up getting off of each other. Maybe some strikes off the thing. The thing that really upset me was when Aljamain was in a really bad position. He was on all fours right before his coach, Matt Serra, was saying, "Hey, I need you off all fours," which then Aljamain did listen to, and he stopped doing that after like the second or third round. So again, hats off to Aljamain because it's sometimes hard to do that in the middle of a fight. But Henry, I don't know why we didn't see more damage from those positions. And I think that's what really led to some of the judges not giving him some of these rounds. Because the perception was that Aljamain was dodging shots, even though it looked like he was just kind of like a snake charmer kind of thing, right? He was still dodging shots per se, but I just didn't like that Henry wasn't able to throw anything or wasn't willing. Maybe he didn't like that his legs would be exposed from that. I don't know. But I didn't think Aljamain had anything to offer off of all fours. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
good match in the works, though. What are you gonna say? I'm sorry.
Oh, I was gonna say, yeah. I think Aljamain's just like prevalence for pulling submissions off was a little bit of a hesitation for Cejudo to like full on go in, but yeah, I do wish that there was a little more aggression in that, especially since he's gotten so many finishes like that.
Yeah, I don't know. I agree. It's tough. I don't think there's much of a stain on Henry Cejudo's career as people are making it out to be. The dude's still an Olympic medalist, gold medalist. He's still a 2-time division champion. Still beat one of the other greatest 135ers to ever do it, in DJ.
Yeah.
Who just had an amazing performance of his own over at ONE FC.
Yeah.
And
he beat EPO Dillashaw.
You know what I mean? Like it's insane feats. Insane
Yeah.
feats that again, I want to see him at 135. Can he make 125? I don't know. That's a lot of weight now.
I don't think he would want to at this point.
Brandon wants that fight. And I think that's because Brandon Moreno doesn't really see anyone else. I mean, he has to go against Pantoja coming up, right? Well, he has Yair Rodriguez and then Pantoja. So, and that would be Pantoja 3, right? Pantoja 2 or 3? Because Pantoja has like a win over him, I want to say.
Moreno is fighting Pantoja.
What? Wait, what? I thought, what happened to Yair?
Yeah, Yair's in 45.
Am I tripping?
Yeah, you're thinking because we're on the same thing. Yair's fighting Volkanovski.
Oh my God! Wow. Yeah. Don't. Jesus! Don't smoke your breakfast, kids. No.
It's okay. We forgive you.
Not the TikTok comments, man.
See, I knew this guy was a casual.
I knew it. Oh, dude, you need to go back to the group chat this morning, man.
Oh no.
Yeah, we were all just calling each other casuals. All right, let's get into the last one of the night, and then maybe we can actually talk about some of the ONE FC stuff, just because it was a little fun. Did you happen to watch the ONE FC?
I did not.
Okay.
I ended up taking that night to myself.
Nice.
I stream a lot. I give my time to other people a lot. I have a lot to do, like just random things. So I was just like, you know what, tonight I'm just gonna chill and play video games with myself.
You do, absolutely. And you know what? We haven't done any kind of plugs. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you please would, as much as I would love all the likes and follows here on YouTube or on TikTok, I want you to go ahead, go to @StevenShred on every single platform possible that you know. Go ahead and give him a follow, sub, whatever you can. It helps. This man is amazing. He is an amazing musician who does a lot of metal work and a lot of road work for other bands. And I know he has other events coming up. So, go ahead, pay attention to that when you give a chance. Moving on. So Mike Perry and Conor McGregor, when they had their face-off in the bare knuckle cage, we recently just found out that Chael Sonnen, per Chael Sonnen and the MMA Hour show with Ariel Helwani, he had the show notes. He had the script. Now, I want to make something very, very well known. When it comes to producers and scripts and the show, every single broadcast production, little show, little podcast, they have show notes. They have a script. It's not because MMA is as scripted as the WWE. It's because the producer needs to know where they're at in the show. They need to know that certain sponsors need to get brought up during different parts of the event.
Yep.
I saw on different Instagram posts and stuff like that, like, oh my God, there goes any integrity left. Oh, bare knuckles scripted. And oh my God, what is this WWE? Relax, guys. Like, you guys forget that this is a whole production. This is a whole broadcast. It's not just the fighters that go in there and it's like a couple cameras and like it's a little shindig. No, it costs hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions of dollars to run these events every time they step in the cage. They got to pay everyone. They got to pay the lights. They got to pay for the stadium. They got to pay for the fighters. They got to pay for it's a lot of things. Sometimes they get deals with with different arenas. Sometimes they don't. All right. And I think now that the UFC is a little bit bigger, they're able to kind of ask for more things, but still, when it comes to bare knuckle, guys, what are we talking about here? Anyways, I just wanted to get that little rant out. Anyways,
yeah, it makes sense. And then it's like on top of that, you talk about all the people you need to pay. They need the scripts too because they need to figure out when they do what they do. Like,
yeah,
you have the script written out. Like, okay, lighting guys, you need to take care of this at this time. This is this time. This is this time. Okay, like, the people who are doing the editing in the room. Okay, this is gonna happen at this time. This is gonna happen at this time. You gotta cut to this. We want, like, people have jobs. People have to have the show laid out because they have a schedule. Literally, fighters have a schedule when it's on a card. Everybody else does too.
so the control room in like broadcast world, it's usually called the truck, right? And
yep.
It's because it literally is just like a giant truck, and it has like a bunch of screens, and it's like its own thing. I'm fortunate enough to work in a control room that isn't a truck. So I get to see like that, like the backside of sports and live sports. And yeah, everyone has their own. I mean, everyone gets like a script for the show, and it might not say everything for everyone, but you also have like your own set of things that you have to do, and that'll usually be outlined somewhere else. Like I usually have like 3 pieces of paper in front of me. I usually have a lineup. I usually have the show script, and I usually have like a little set of instructions for my specific position. And those are the things I kind of have up just so I can always reference things just in case if I'm nervous or not nervous, but like if I'm just like, oh, what do I need to do now? But at this point, I'm just kind of, okay, yeah, I know what I need to do, and I just troubleshoot most of the time. However, Chael Sonnen said that the moment wasn't scripted. What was supposed to happen was the show was supposed to go off air, and then Cowboy Cerrone was supposed to go in and have a face-off with Mike Perry. Supposedly, Conor got in there, and they were like, hey, we're going to do this. Mike Perry saw the opportunity, decided to have the face-off. I don't think anything happens, but look how much more attention it cost. Right?
Yeah.
There is little room for me wanting to see Donald Cerrone get in there for bare knuckle, right? Maybe just out of like, yeah, that's my boy. But at the same time, it's like, damn, I don't know if I want to see you. You know what I mean? Like, you're doing so good. You're doing the Hollywood stuff. Maybe he's in the gym training, and maybe he's still outperforming some of the young guys, and just kind of goes like, maybe I should do it a little bit. It's not the same, man. Because they're not. What's up?
Oh, I was gonna say there's 2 things for that for me.
Mm-hmm.
the number one thing, he admitted he's on steroids now.
I mean, yeah, he's like, yeah, that shit's crazy. I'm like, it is,
Yeah,
isn't it?
he was like, yeah, he was like, yeah. As soon as I was out of the testing pool, I started doing steroids, and man, I feel amazing. No wonder why people do this.
Now, look, I can't prove a damn thing. This is just purely conjecture. But bare knuckle, did you see Chad and Eddie? The guys are big. Look, I'm not saying a damn thing.
Yeah, dude.
What I am saying is that they are fucking big.
Yeah, looking a little on the sus side, but
it's if that's how they want to fight.
We're just commentating. We're just observers.
We're just
yeah.
I don't. Yeah. I only say what I see.
Oh, real quick though, but my second thing with Cowboy.
Yeah.
Literally his retirement fight. What is the thing that he said? I don't love it anymore.
Yeah.
That tells me he doesn't want to fight. So if he goes into bare knuckle, just because he feels like obligated to for some reason, because I feel like a lot of the times he does fight, he just kind of feels obligated. He's like, well, I mean, somebody's got to fight, so I might as well.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to see it. If he says he doesn't love it anymore, and he doesn't love it anymore, train, do your thing, pop up in movies, so I could be like, hey, that's Cowboy. But I don't need to see him fight bare knuckle, whether he's successful or not. Like, it's just not there anymore for me. It's like, I understand he's past fighting, so I hope it doesn't turn into a thing.
Yeah, I would agree. All right, so that being said, I just wanted to cover ONE FC because they had their first American card, and I feel like it deserves a little bit of coverage, only because I want to see ONE come back into the U.S. I think it was awesome to see some of the American guys fighting, especially because we don't normally get these fights. And I think this was they've had fights on Amazon Prime, but this was like the first time I think that I actually got to watch it on Amazon Prime. That being said, so for some of the results, so we'll just go through it. DJ, Demetrius Johnson, right, was able to get the unanimous decision over Adriano Moraes, who is a very large opponent. Very large dude. And at some point, man, you got to ask, why do they keep giving him guys that just are huge? Like, I don't know if this flyweight division for DJ is right. Like, these guys just look way bigger, especially with ONE FC's like weight and hydration policy.
Yeah. It's almost like a conspiracy. Like, it's like, oh, well, if Mighty Mouse loses, that's a bigger headline.
Yeah, like they want their guy to be the first to do it. And Adriano does have it. He did have a win, but then Mighty Mouse able to get the victory and is now 2-1 over Moraes, and is able to kind of stamp himself again as one of the best to ever do it. He then went on after the fight to ask the crowd how they felt and whether or not they wanted him to fight, to which they gave him a huge roar, huge pop, as they would say. Right? He received a huge pop, and then he goes, well, I need to talk to the wife about it. And understandable, right? Because it's not just a decision for him. Being a fighter is a very selfish thing. You're in the gym constantly, 2 to 3 times a day. And that's if he isn't a coach. That's another part of it. DJ has such a high mind. I'm sure he is a coach. Moving on, Rod Tang beating Edgar Tabares via knockout. Just to give you guys a couple of notes about this. Look, Rod Tang is still that guy. And Edgar Tabares, I think I'm going to sneeze right now. Edgar Tabares came out looking okay. It was kind of like a feeling out for the first round. And then the second round, Rod Tang just turns it up. I was able to get Edgar Tabares out of there. Then we had the flyweight submission grappling world championship between Mikey Dark Rigatoni Musumeci defeating Azama Almar Y via rear naked choke at 8 minutes in round 1. I like these grappling matches. They're fun. They're entertaining to watch, especially when you have a guy like Mikey Musumeci who just goes and attacks relentlessly. And to go back to Zuckerberg and BJJ, I'm not saying they're going to get in the match anytime soon because Mikey would fucking kill him, right? But I like that it's becoming more and more of an event. Going down a little bit more, Stamp Fairtex, probably ONE FC's most well-known female Muay Thai. MMA fighter. She does have a huge Muay Thai background, but defeated Elise Anderson via knockout 227 of round 2. That was really good. And then the only other thing I really want to bring up is Sage Northcutt, my man, getting a heel hook victory, 39 seconds of round 1. Did you happen to catch the highlight for that or no?
Yeah, somebody posted on Twitter because you could literally post the entire fight and that just yeah.
So okay. I don't think he got dropped with the jab. I think he was surprised. It was a stiff jab for sure. It kind of sat him on his ass. It didn't hurt him as much. He was able to kind of like immediately regard. He had like the butterfly hooks for a second, realized that that homie's legs were open pretty wide. And he goes, you know what, screw this. And he just kind of went full guard. And then opened up his legs and his hips again. Swings to one side as soon as Ahmed goes to kind of like base out, switches his legs over, right, and is able to expose the heel, rolls all the way over, gets the heel hook victory. And that wasn't anything I saw coming. Honestly, I didn't know what to expect. And Sage Northcutt looks different. I mean, he looks like a man. Right? It's crazy what happens in a couple years will do to you, right? So yeah. Hats off to Sage Northcutt. Hats off to ONE FC for an amazing card. It really was a fun card from start to finish. Lots of finishes, lots of great moments. I hope they come back to the U.S. for more events and create more competition within the MMA community because it only gives us better fights to look at.
And it gives us an extra little spotlight on things that aren't MMA in one event.
Yes, so that's absolutely. Really cool. Like
that's something that nobody else does.
Yeah, we had a flyweight submission match, right, for a championship. We had a flyweight Muay Thai championship match, and then we had a flyweight MMA championship match. That's amazing. That was awesome. I like that they kept it like the 3, weight divisions because you can kind of see them. Like you can see the difference in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it allows these, I guess lack of a better word, like athletes, because I guess that like covers the whole spectrum, right? It allows these athletes, like it allows them to stay in the lane that they want to stay in, but still get the spotlight. As opposed to UFC, where if you're, world champion in Jiu-Jitsu, world champion in kickboxing, world champion in Muay Thai. But no, you got to come play our game. Then we'll give you spotlight if you're successful, which a lot of them aren't as successful because they want to do their thing. They don't want to specifically do everything, so it's cool that they get spotlight doing what they want to do. They don't need to transfer over to MMA to get that spotlight. I really like that.
I know ONE has a deal with Gordon Ryan. I don't know when that's going to happen. I've been wanting to see Gordon Ryan in ONE for a very long time. I don't know what Gordon's doing at all right now either. He's coming off of his wins from ADCC. And I can't tell you what he has coming up.
I mean, who knows? Maybe after the success of this last American one, maybe the next American one, they pop off even more with him.
Ty Ruotolo. If you're familiar with the Ruotolo brothers, there's Ty and Cade. Ty Ruotolo is after Gordon Ryan. I really don't like this guy. That's from sportskita.com. Written by Vince Richards. Let's see. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, right now, Gordon Ryan just seems like the unbeatable monster, but I think time's going to get to him. There's going to be someone who's younger, hungrier, and it's not like he doesn't have losses technically in his career, but since becoming a black belt has just absolutely evolved his game under John Danaher. So be interested to see how that all goes. That being said, we want to thank you guys so much for sticking around all the way to the very end of the video. As always, be sure to like, subscribe, follow, do all of that. Hit the little notification bell because YouTube hates people who don't do that. So please do that so YouTube doesn't hate us or you at all. No, I'm just kidding. That being said, Steven, thank you so much for popping in and hanging out, talking some more MMA. We are of course, Sofa King's YouTube channel. If you hate everything that we just talked about for the past hour, well, one, thank you for watching for the past hour, and two, let us know how wrong we are in the comments. If you want to see some more up-to-date info, go ahead, go to our TikTok channels, should be Sofa Kings USA. Until then, thank you guys, and we'll catch you on the next one.